What's up guys, in this video I want to explain how I learn for my exams. I think knowing how to learn something is a really important skill in life in general, but most certainly when you're younger, just so you can make your education journey a lot easier. I myself adapted to a totally different way of studying around last year, and I have to say that it has completely changed my life basically, and it has had a really good impact on my grades for school. So yeah, in this video I want to share that with you, and I hope that this video will give you some value. First, I want to make sure that I tell you that I'm not the person that came up with these study techniques. I actually copied them from Ali Abdul and Study Collab Alicia. But yeah, I just wanted to share this video so you can see how I do it. Yeah, as I said, I just hope that this will give you some value and that it can change your school life as well. The way I study for exams basically exists out of three main points. The first is active recall, the second is spaced repetition, and the third is a retrospective timetable. So I'll now quickly explain what that means. Active recall is what you probably already guessed from the word, is that you actively recall information. If you want to have the best explanation I have ever heard for this, I will link Ali Abdul's video in the description down below, or you can click on the YouTube card here, I think. But what most people do is they create and read summaries, or they read their notes or something, and while you're doing that you don't have to actively use your brain, since you can already read the information that you're supposed to learn. While if you would make questions or try to answer questions, you have to actively think about, okay, what is the answer? Do I know this? If yes, then okay, what is it? And then check if your answer was right. And if you don't know it, you can look at the answer, try to memorize it, and that way your brain is way more actively involved in the learning process. And in my experience, that way studying goes way faster, and I got way better grades when I implemented this technique. So what I will do with active recall is I'll go through my textbook, I'll go through it paragraph by paragraph, and I'll just highlight the most important stuff and create questions around those important topics. So that way you already have singled out the most important stuff, and you only create questions about things you don't know already. If there's something that you would consider as really important, but you know it already, and you have no doubt in your mind that you will still know this by the time the test comes up, you don't need to create a question about it and waste your time with that. So I'll go through my textbook, create questions about the most important stuff that I don't know already, and then I'll use spaced repetition, which I will explain in a minute, to make sure that information transfers to my long-term memory and not just my short-term memory. And it can take some time to become good at singling out the important stuff from the less important stuff in your textbook, but that's just really practicing, and yeah, in time you'll get better at it. The second thing I talked about was spaced repetition. The idea behind this is that humans all have a forgetting curve, which basically means you read something or you learn something, and over time you know less and less, and at some point you know nothing or almost nothing about that subject anymore. With spaced repetition, you're supposed to, as the name would suggest, repeat things spaced out. So the routine I use for this, and I copied this from Study Collab Alicia, is I create active recall questions on day one to say, and then I have my first spaced repetition session one day after that. I have my second spaced repetition session 3 days after that, then 1 week after that, and 2 weeks after that. And what you'll notice is that by the time your 4th repetition comes up, the information has kind of been transferred to your long-term memory instead of just your short-term memory. So by the time your test or exam comes around, you will have a much larger kind of knowledge library to use while answering the questions. And I have found that this works really well, and I can really remember almost everything. And by the time my exam is like 1 week away or something, or even 2 weeks, I only have to worry about other stuff that I didn't cover in my questions that are important, and I don't have to worry about all the stuff from the textbook since I already know that. So that gives me a lot of peace of mind, because I just know that I'll have to do less things when the exam date is coming near. Next up, we have the retrospective timetable. This is something again I copied from Ali Abdul, and I'll again link the video down below. What most students do when they know they have an exam come up in, let's say, a month. Most students will start like a few days up front, but let's say a month, is they will create a schedule and try to plan everything up front. So like on Monday the 12th I will do, I don't know, geography 2 paragraphs, history 3 paragraphs, whatever. And while that is certainly better than not planning anything at all, it's not the best strategy to use, because you can't accurately predict upfront how much time you will need to spend on each topic until you learned it sufficiently. With a retrospective timetable, you create a table and you give each paragraph you need to learn, or each topic you need to learn, a separate row, and it will also create some columns. Every time you studied a certain paragraph or topic, you will, in the next column, you will write down the date you did it and how it went. So you can either color code it or just use like it went bad, it went okay, and it went great. It doesn't matter, whatever works for you. That way you will have an accurate overview of what topics you already know and what topics you need to spend more time on. So for example, if I have a paragraph for my geography 1.1, and let's say the first space repetition session was on the 1st of May, and it went bad. So what I'll do is I'll create that table, and it doesn't matter how good or bad something went the first time, I will maintain the schedule of 1 day, 3 days, 1 week, 2 weeks. I don't care if all of them went great. I will do that so that I know for sure that I will remember it. And after that I will look at the data and see, okay, these paragraphs went great, and my criteria for not having to do it again is that I finished that paragraph with at least 1 or 2 grades. So if you color code it, that would probably be green. And if that's the case, then great, I don't need to worry about that anymore, and I will not repeat that again, except for maybe the day before the exam. Just if I'm a bit nervous, then can go over it again to reassure myself that I know the stuff. But if I haven't finished it with at least 1 grade, then I know, okay, I need to keep repeating that. And then you can create a schedule around that, however many times you want to repeat that. And my criteria for that would still be you have to finish it with at least 1 grade. So as long as I haven't finished a paragraph with at least 1 grade, I will keep repeating it. Of course, unless of course it's already the exam date, and then you'll know next time you have to start earlier. But yeah, that way I reduce my stress, because I know for sure that I know the topics I need to take a test about. And yeah, it's just way more efficient because you don't spend any more time on things than necessary. So in the end I have noticed that it has probably reduced my time spent studying by 1/3 or something, which for me is quite a lot. So the time that I spend on studying it has reduced, and the grades I get with my exams have increased. So yeah, that's basically the dream. So for me, combining these 3 techniques have worked out amazing. I have saved time studying and I've increased my grades. I wouldn't say it has cost me less effort, but it's really great to be able to give the same amount of effort while saving time and increasing your result. Oh, and it's important to say that you don't need to follow my exact spaced repetition schedule. For example, if you have a normal test and not an exam, because exams you usually know pretty far up front that you'll have an exam on that date. But if you get a simple test, like when your teacher says you will have a test 1 week from now, you can of course change that schedule. I mean, if that were me, I would probably change it to creating the questions and just either repeating it every day or every other day until you have the feeling that you know all the stuff. So yeah, that was it for today. I really hope you got some value out of this video. And yeah, it's sometimes a bit hard because in my head I know exactly what I want to say and how I need to explain it, but then to actually do it while recording is a bit difficult. So I really hope my message was clear, and if not, please let me know in the comments down below and I'll either try to answer it in the comments or I'll have to create a new video about it. But what I really want to do is just add value to your life, and as I said many times throughout this video, these techniques have helped me so much, and I'm really grateful to mostly Ali Abdul for introducing me to these topics. And I really hope that I was able to do the same for you. And yeah, with that, if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more of me, basically, please consider subscribing and ringing the bell so you'll get notified whenever I upload. And yeah, hope to see you next week.